Hello, everyone. It's Monica, and we are here with it is part 6, although it's book 7 of Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. And he is pretty obsessed with death. so, um, so you got to be ready for that. But it's a lot of wisdom. But like the last couple of chapters were about like, don't stress about anything because you're just gonna be dead tomorrow, and no one's ever gonna remember you. Nobody. All the people who remember you are also gonna be dead, and nobody's gonna remember them. So Angela is glad to be here, and I think in light of what Marcus Aurelius has to say to us, we should all be just glad to be here. As my father used to say, like, "How you doing, Dad?" He'd say, "Every day above ground is a good day." And then there was a day when he wasn't above ground anymore. And I was like, oh, wow, that happens. And my mother's, I'm like, this is totally happening. So it's good to be prepared. And he is very helpful in like keeping it together. Like, don't panic because you can panic about death. You could really panic. I mean, if you ever think about it, like, I think it's just a crazy concept to not exist. So try to get your mind around that. Anyway, maybe book 7 will hold something a little more relevant to being alive. Did I tell you this last time that I have a doctor friend who, like, I'm always at, he's a pediatrician, but he's also an ER doc. So he does know a lot of answers. And I'll always ask him this and that and the other thing. And he'll say, don't worry about dying, worry about living. And I think it's a great philosophy. He's Armenian, and I have a feeling they live that philosophy over there. Anyhow, let us begin. Hi, everybody. It's a little late today. I'm sorry, but I could not compete. And look at the glorious silence, which maybe it always sounds silent to you. Oh, yes, frightening me. Don't panic. It's from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was great. All of his stuff was great. I even liked the TV show. And then they did Dirk Gently. And I don't know if anybody saw Dirk Gently, but lost me in the first 5 minutes of the first episode of the first season. So that was a wasted opportunity, in my opinion, but it was all great. And plus, the British, they say JC all over the place. Like, it is not censored out to say Jesus Christ in vain. So I can't tolerate that. Like, I wouldn't tolerate, if you're not supposed to depict Muhammad, I wouldn't buy a magazine that did that. Like, ugh. So I don't like that stuff. Anywho, now that we're warmed up, let's go for it. So this is book 7. Ooh, I guess maybe you should worry about the afterlife because it says, what is badness? It is that which you have often seen. Amidst all that happens, keep in mind that you have seen it often. Everywhere up and down, you will find the same things with which the old histories are filled, those of the middle period and those of our own day, with which cities and houses are filled now. There is nothing new. All things are both familiar and short-lived. Okay, so yes, there's nothing new under the sun. How can our principles become dead unless the impressions, thoughts that correspond to them are extinguished? But it is in your power continuously to fan these thoughts into a flame. I can form the opinion that I ought to have about anything. If I am able to do so, why am I disturbed? The things that are external to my mind have no relation at all to my mind. Let this be the state of your affects, and you will stand erect. To recover your life is in your power. Look at things again as you used to look at them, for in this consists the recovery of your life. This, I think this was it The Moon is a Harsh Mistress? Or another Heinlein book where I used to have a quote, like, put on the bottom of my email or something from that book that said, you can't control my mind, no matter what shackles you put on my body, and that's all that really matters. But I think Heinlein was like a, MI6 or whatever. But hey, man, a limited hangout does not work if it's not mostly really good. Okay. The idle business of show plays on the stage, flocks of sheep, herds, exercises with spears, a bone cast to little dogs, a bit of bread into fish ponds, laborings of ants and burden, carrying runnings about of frightened little mice, puppets pulled by strings, all alike. It is your duty then, in the midst of such things, to show good humor and not a proud air. To understand, however, that every man is worth just so much as the things about which he busies himself. Interesting. In discourse, you must attend to what is said. So I just want to go back to that for a second. Every man is worth just so much as the things about which he busies himself. I'm thinking of like the distinction between, so you should still love people. I don't know if we're meant to love people equally or just see Jesus in everyone. Are you supposed to literally, you're supposed to love thy neighbor as thyself or as thy brother, or whatever? Oh, yeah, maybe it is supposed to be equal. But like I think about law or fairness and equality and equity and stuff. Being equal is not the same, earning the same money, equal money is not necessarily fair. If you choose to not be the hardest worker around because you don't like the stress, then why would he pay you as much? He's not getting as much out of you. So equality, fairness are not the same. And my point is, do you have to love somebody equally? Can you judge them? Like, you can. I think you can. I think it's important to use judgment, discernment. But I was kind of taught as a Catholic to like treat and think of the like workers in my building like the other bankers, and I would, and another banker yelled at me for it. He was like, "You're not supposed to do that." I was like, maybe you're right, but maybe you're wrong. So a man is worth just so much as the things about which he busies himself. That may be true, in fact, but are we, would it be bad manners to judge him externally? Or is that something that is just more of a truth and none of your business? In discourse, you must attend to what is said, and in every action, you must observe what is being done. And in the latter, you should see immediately what end is intended. But in the former, watch carefully what thing is signified. Is my understanding sufficient for this or not? If it is sufficient, I use it for the work as an instrument given by universal nature. But if it is not sufficient, then either I retire from the work and give way to him who is able to do it better, unless there be some reason why I ought not to do so, or I do it as well as I can, taking to help me the man who, with the aid of my ruling principle, can do what is now fit and useful for the general good. You should see immediately what end is intended, but in the former, watch carefully what thing is signified. Yeah, I mean, as somebody who thinks like William of England thinks a system is what it does. It's meant to do what it does. That's what it's meant to do because that's what it's doing and that's what it continues to do. And it's not being stopped from doing that. So if you're supposed to understand what is said and know what's intended or see what acts are being done and know what's signified, I mean, we are entitled to make those judgment calls. I would say now it's clear he's exhorting us to make judgment calls. Fair enough. Going on where we left off. For in whatever I do, either by myself or with another, I must direct my energies to this alone, that it shall conduce to the common interest and be in harmony with it. Okay, the common interest. So this is more like, I think I have a very, casual understanding of philosophy, but my understanding of Plato is the collective thing. So like medieval cloisters and abbeys and stuff, they were more organized on the Platonic principle. You took like the best people, the smartest minds, whatever, from the families, you made them into these philosophers, priests rather than kings, but like that. And then I believe it was a Catholic thing. The Catholic Church kind of said, oh no, we want Aristotle. And Aristotle's more individualistic. And some people don't think that's quite right, that's not really a Christian approach. I'll have to ask Courtney. I have a show with Courtney soon. But this guy's saying like what's in the common interest and be in harmony with it. I would say from a Catholic point of view or Christian point of view, I would replace that or live by charity. What is conducive to charity and in harmony with charity? I think the common interest is hard to deduce, and I think charity alone is enough, is in the common interest above all. I could be wrong. How many, after being celebrated by fame, I got to write that down. We got to talk to Courtney about Aristotle versus Plato, right? Just squeeze that in with all the other stuff we have to talk about. All right. How many, after being celebrated by fame, have been given up to oblivion? This again. And how many who have celebrated the fame of others have long been dead? Yeah, everybody who remembers you and everybody who remembers them are all dead. Do not be ashamed to be helped, for it is your business to do your duty like a soldier in the assault on a town. What if, being lame, you cannot mount up on the battlements alone, but with the help of another, it is possible? Do not let the future disturb you, for you will arrive there, if you arrive, with the same reason you now apply to the present. Interesting. Don't worry about the future because it's going to be you dealing with it. That's pretty wise. All things are mutually intertwined, and the bond is holy, and there is hardly anything unconnected with any other thing. For things have been coordinated, and they combine to form one universal order. For there is one universe made up of all things, and one God who pervades all things, and one substance, and one law, one common reason in all intelligent animals, and one truth. If indeed there is also one perfection for all animals that are of the same stock and participate in the same reason. Everything, one truth, objectivism. Everything material soon disappears in the substance of the whole, and everything formal, causal, is very soon taken back into the universal reason, and the memory of everything is very soon overwhelmed in time. To the rational animal, the same act is at once according to nature and according to reason. So to the rational animal, the same act is at once according to nature and according to reason. Be upright or be made upright. The principle that obtains where limbs and body unite to form one organism holds good also for rational things with their separate individualities, constituted as they are to work in conjunction. And the perception of this will be more apparent to you if you often say to yourself that you am a member, and then literally there's like Greek letters, of the system. So this is like a concept. And I think Courtney might say an ontological concept, but I always forget what that means, even though I think it's like the most important thing. Is it like, does it mean philosophy? Oh, I know what it means. I think it means of the nature of man, human nature. Yeah, I think that's what those letters are. If you say to yourself that you am a member of the system of rational beings, but if using the letter R, so it's slightly differently spelled in Greek, you say that you are a part, so you're either a member or a part. You do not yet love men from your heart. So he is making the charity comparison, and it's just like another degree of it away from that. Beneficence does not delight you for its own sake. You still do it barely as a thing of propriety and not yet as doing good to yourself. Okay. Let there fall externally what will on whatever can feel the effects of this fall. For that which feels will complain if it so chooses. But I, unless I think that what has happened is an evil, am not injured. And it is in my power not to think so. Whatever anyone does or says, I must be good, just as if the emerald or the gold or the purple were always saying, whatever anyone does or says, I must be emerald and keep my color. The ruling faculty does not disturb itself. Does not frighten itself or stir up its desires. But if anyone else can frighten or disturb it, let him do so. For the faculty itself will not, by its own assumptions, turn itself into such ways. Let the body itself take care, if it can, that it suffer nothing, and let it speak if it suffers. But the soul itself, that which is subject to fear, to pain, which has completely the power of forming a judgment about these things, will suffer nothing, for it will never deviate into such a judgment. The leading principle in itself wants nothing, unless it creates its own needs, and therefore it is both free from perturbation and unimpeded if it does not disturb and impede itself. Yeah, so I'm sure Stella or Frightening Me can put this more concisely, but it's all in your head. Like, if you're freaking out. Oh, I know. There was did I ever tell you this one about I was on a plane with a guy and I was like traumatized from a previous plane ride I made. First plane ride I ever made with my son who had Down syndrome, and it was just terrible. And I had to go because we were moving. And a guy, I was in first class because we had like a bunch of miles, and there was a guy there who was such a jerk. He was super mean to me, and it was awful. It was a long story. I'm not going to get into it. But some guy next to me was talking to me in hushed tones, so he was polite. And I was like, I'm totally nervous about talking because this guy yelled at me. And I told him the story. He was an Indian guy, and he had a really interesting, he said, he was telling me how I was reading the Yoga Sutras, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, like, I don't know anybody who's reading those, and I'm Indian." And he said, "You don't understand how far I fell away. I fell so far away that I ate beef." He said, "You don't understand how disgusting that is to do for someone of my beliefs." And, I have and since thought about that many times when I've seen something like somebody does that's super disgusting or, pedophile or whatever. You're just like, "Whoa." I think that's how he felt about beef. But what he said about the guy who yelled at me was the source of his agitation is within him. And that was true. I think when people say, "Who hurt you?" like in jest, it's that. Like, "Who hurt you? Why are you acting like such a jerk?" I think he's saying it's you're doing it to yourself. Excuse me. Eudaimonia, catch this one. Eudaimonia, which he defines as happiness in parentheses, is a good daimon. This came up when we were talking to Graham. Daimon. Eudaimonia is a good daemon or a good thing. Oh, like euphoria. EU must mean good. But what then are you doing here, O imagination? Go back to wherever you came from. I entreat you by the gods, for I do not want you. But you have come according to your old fashion. I'm not angry with you, but go away. Is any man afraid of change? What can take place without change? What then is more pleasing or more suitable to the universal nature? And can you take a hot bath unless the wood for the fire undergoes a change? And can you be nourished unless the food undergoes a change? And can anything else that is useful be accomplished without change? Do you not see then that for yourself also to change is just the same and equally necessary for the universal nature? Wow, Frightening Me points out eugenics. EU is a prefix for good. Eugenics. Wow. Chilling. You chilling. Through the universal substance, as through a furious torrent, all bodies are carried, being by their nature united with and cooperating with the whole as the parts of our body with one another. How many a Chrysippus, how many a Socrates, how many an Epictetus has time already swallowed up? And let the same thought occur to you with reference to every man and thing. Actually, Chrysippus has been swallowed up by then because I've never heard of him, but I have heard of Socrates and Epictetus, who I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. The only constant in life is change, Stella says, truly. Only one thing troubles me, lest I should do something that the constitution of man does not allow, or in a way it does not allow, or what it does not allow now. In a little while, you will have forgotten everything. In a little while, everything will have forgotten you. That's a great. You ever have the like that anxiety? Like you wake up, it hasn't happened to me in a while, but I've gotten it pretty bad where you drink too much and you say something stupid or whatever. You're yourself, like you're in vino veritas, as it were. Um, it's a morbid thought, but if you wake up the next morning, in a little while, you will have forgotten everything, and everything will have forgotten you. That's true. It is peculiar to man to love even those who do wrong. And this happens if, when they do wrong, it occurs to you that they are fellow humans and that they do wrong through ignorance and unintentionally, and that soon both of you will die. And above all, that the wrongdoer has done you no harm, for he has not made your ruling faculty worse than it was before. The universal nature out of the universal substance, as if it were wax, now molds a horse. And when it has broken this up, it uses the material for a tree, then for a man, then for something else. And each of these things subsists for a very short time. But it is no hardship for the vessel to be broken up, just as there was none in its being fastened together. A scowling look is altogether unnatural. When is it often assumed? The result is that all comeliness dies away, and at last is so completely extinguished that it cannot be again lighted up at all. Try to conclude from this very fact that it is contrary to reason. For if even the perception of doing wrong departs, what reason is there for living any longer? Huh? Does anybody get that? I got to just whatever. Scowling look is unnatural. Comeliness dies away, and it will never come back. Try to conclude from this fact that it is contrary to reason. Okay, so comeliness and scowling are both contrary to reason because they don't last. I don't know. I'm not sure I caught his conclusion. For if even the perception of doing wrong departs, what reason is there for living any longer? Nature, which governs the whole, will soon change all things that you see. And out of their substance will make other things, and again other things from the substance of them, in order that the world may be ever new. When a man has done you wrong, immediately consider with what opinion about good or evil he has done wrong. For when you have seen this, you will pity him, and will neither wonder nor be angry. For either you yourself think the same thing to be good that he does, or another thing of the same kind. Either you yourself think the same thing to be good that he does, or another thing of the same kind. It is your duty then to pardon him. But if you do not think such things to be good or evil, you will more readily be well disposed to him who is in error. Think not so much of what you lack as of what you have, but the things that you have, select the best, and then reflect how eagerly you would have sought them if you did not have them. At the same time, however, take care that you do not, through being so pleased with them, accustom yourself to overvalue them, so as to be disturbed if you should ever not have them. Now that's materialism, and that is a sin. And that materialism, the sin of materialism, is not to have a lot of stuff, or even to want a lot of stuff. It's to be attached to the stuff with love. Like, I think it's a sin against the first commandment. I think it's idol worship, or maybe that's not the first commandment. One of the first commandments. Shh, don't tell anybody I didn't know that. Retire into yourself. It is characteristic of the rational ruling faculty to be satisfied with its own righteous dealing and the peace which that brings. Wipe out the imagination. Stop the pulling of the strings. Confine yourself to the present. Understand well what happens either to you or to another. Divide and distribute every object into the causal, formal, that is, and the material. Think of your last hour. Let the wrong that is done by a man stay there where the wrong was done. Direct your attention to what is said. Let your understanding enter into the things that are done and the things that are doing them. Adorn yourself with simplicity and modesty, and with indifference toward the things that lie between virtue and vice. Love mankind follow God. The poet says that law rules all, but in truth, there are only elements, and it is enough to remember that law rules all. The poet, we got to do this again. This guy's deep, man. He goes deep. The poet says that law rules all, but in truth, there are only elements, and it is enough to remember that law rules all. I don't know, man. There are elements and there are laws of nature. I'm sure that's what he means. I just don't get it. About death. Whether it is a dispersion or a resolution into atoms or annihilation, it is either extinction or it is change. Yeah, true that. About pain. The pain that is intolerable carries us off, but that which lasts a long time is tolerable. And the mind maintains its own tranquility by retiring into itself. And the ruling faculty is not made worse. But the parts that are harmed by pain, let them, if they can, give their opinion about it. About fame. Look at the minds of those who seek fame. Observe what they are and what kind of things they avoid and what kind of things they pursue. And consider that as the heaps of sand piled on one another hide the former sands, so in life the events that go before are soon covered by those that come after. From Plato, the man who has an elevated mind and takes a view of all time and of all substance, do you suppose it possible for him to think that human life is anything great? It is not possible, he said. Such a man then will think that death also is no evil. Certainly not. All right, I got to point out, this guy is obsessed with death. He must have known the end was near, but there are meditations, and I think it was said that he wasn't meaning to share these. He was probably just trying to get his mind around the biggest conundrum for the human being. Like that's what I was saying in the beginning. It's like so terrifying. I don't think it's possible to really imagine not existing. I just don't think that's possible. I mean, maybe people who meditate and think of nothing, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. But he's really obsessing about it. But so I guess if you were sick and worried about it, it's easy. I think that's why I like the Catholic thing is like, I'm not even sure it's like that way, but I'm sure that the goodness of it is good. I'm sure like doing all these things that he's saying is good. And I mean, if God is bad, isn't that what the Gnostics think? And like being good, you get punished for that in the afterlife. I mean, how are that's the only possibility of like things being really screwed up. It's either just be good in this life and don't be afraid of death, I guess is what he's saying. From Antisthenes, it is royal to do good and to be abused. It is a base thing for the countenance to be obedient and to regulate and compose itself as the mind commands, and for the mind not to be regulated and composed by itself. It is not right to vex ourselves at things, for they care naught about it. To the immortal gods and us give joy. Life must be reaped like the ripe ears of corn. One man is born, another dies. If gods care not for me and for my children, there is a reason for it. For the good is with me and the just. No joining others in their wailing, no violent emotion. From Plato, I would make this man a sufficient answer, which is this. You are mistaken if you think that a man who is good for anything at all ought to consider the risks of life or death, but rather should consider only in all that he does, whether he is doing what is just or unjust, and the works of a good or a bad man. I am 100% on board with that. I agree totally. For thus it is, men of Athens, in truth, wherever a man has placed himself, thinking it the best place for him, or has been placed by a commander, there, in my opinion, he ought to stay and to abide the hazard, taking nothing into the reckoning, either death or anything else, before the baseness of deserting his post. But, my good friend, reflect whether that which is noble and good is not something different from saving and being saved. For as to a man living such or such a time, at least one who is really a man, consider if this is not a thing to be dismissed from the thoughts. And there must be no love of life, but as to these matters, a man must entrust them to the deity and believe what the women say, that no man can escape his destiny. The next inquiry being how he may best live the time that he has to live. Look round at the courses of the stars, as if you were going along with them, and constantly consider the changes of the elements into one another. For such thoughts purge away the filth of our earthly life. This a fine saying of Plato, that he who is discoursing about men should look also at earthly things as if he viewed them from some higher place, should look at them in their assemblies, armies, agricultural labors, marriages, treaties, births, deaths, noise of the courts of justice, desert places, various nations of barbarians, feasts, lamentations, markets, a mixture of all things and an orderly combination of contraries. Consider the past, such great changes of political supremacies. You may foresee also the things that will be, for they will certainly be of like form, and it is not possible that they should deviate from the order of the things that take place now. Accordingly, to have contemplated human life for 40 years is the same as to have contemplated it for 10,000 years. For what more will you see? I'm not sure if it was when we were reading this or something else, but the thought occurred to me and it like emerged organically from the conversation we were having. Maybe it was with Ash and Stella, but that say everything we're afraid of and talk about constantly algorithm ghetto, AI, total surveillance, total control, everything, phones, whatever. What if that system is achieved, which appears to be the goal, unless there's another goal that this system is like a front for? Short of the transhumanism stuff and the nanobots and whatever, mRNA, if that stuff is really transforming us forever, and even if it does, like evolution does do that. Like, I'm not a Darwinist, but Scott and Patrick were just talking about Vietnamese. I was in Vietnam. It was called Indochina. It's like a mixture between India and China. Like it was occupied for hundreds of years by both of them. And they look at, and I remember when I was there and I discovered that I was like, oh my gosh, like some people look Indian, some people like look Chinese, and some people look both. Like, and it's shaped literally by the forces around them. So yes, I don't want them to do all that stuff. But anyway, even if they get everything they want, it's going to pass. I'm not going to get to see the ending, which bums me out because I like ending, I'm very plot oriented, but it's going to end. And I don't think it's going to take, however old the United States is it 1776? We're hitting the 250th. Is that it? We're going to do 250 next year. I don't think it's going to take 250 years for that system to collapse. It's certainly not going to take 1,000 years or 2,000 years. No, I cannot see that happening at all. So even though it sounds like this guy is being anachronistic and like speaking out of time, as it were, like it's not true anymore because now we have electronics and nanobots and stuff. It may still be true. Yes, it is the 250th. Thank you. And yeah, don't miss the forest for the trees. Okay, did I miss that? Oh yeah, I did not understand that. Yeah, the whole as more than the sum of its parts. Stella with the perhaps we do not exist. I can't do that. I can't think about that because then thinking itself would be a complete waste, and I can't. That's all I can do. That's all I got. I'm not throwing that out with the bathwater. All that has grown from the earth returns to the earth, but that which has sprung from heavenly seed back to the heavenly realms returns. This is either a dissolution of the closely linked atoms or a similar dispersion of the non-sentient elements. Oh, God, I got that wrong. Stella Frightening Me points out as saying, perhaps we don't not exist. Double negative. I missed that. Yeah. I thought that was not. I thought we resonated pretty much on most stuff. I was like, that's the opposite. Very good. So, with food and drinks and cunning magic arts turning the channel's course to escape from death, the breeze that heaven has sent, we must endure and toil without complaining. Another may be more expert in casting his opponent, but he is not more social, nor more modest, nor better disciplined to meet all that happens, nor more considerate with respect to the faults of his neighbors. Where any work can be done conformably to the reason that is common to gods and men, there we have nothing to fear. For where we are able to get profit by means of a successful activity and proceeds according to our constitution, there no harm is to be suspected. Everywhere and at all times, it is in your power piously to acquiesce in your present condition and to behave justly to those around you, and to exert your skill upon your present thoughts, that nothing shall steal into them without being well examined. Do not look around you to discover other men's ruling principles, but look straight to this, to what nature leads you, both universal nature through the things that happen to you, and your own nature through the acts you must perform. But every being ought to do that which is according to its constitution, and all other things have been constituted for the sake of rational beings, just as among irrational things, the inferior for the sake of the superior, but the rational for the sake of one another. The prime principle, then, in man's constitution is the social. And the second is not to yield to the persuasions of the body. For it is the peculiar office of the rational and intelligent motion to circumscribe itself and never to be overpowered either by the motion of the senses or of the appetites, for both are animal. But the intelligent motion claims superiority and does not permit itself to be overpowered by the others. And with good reason, for it is formed by nature to use all of them. The third thing in the rational constitution is freedom from error and from deception. Let then the ruling principle, holding fast to these things, go straight on, and it has what is its own. Be true to yourself. Still, again. Consider yourself to be dead and to have completed your life up to the present time, and live according to nature the remainder that is allowed you. Love only that which happens to you and is spun with the thread of your destiny. For what is more suitable? In everything that happens, keep before your eyes those to whom the same things happened, and how they were vexed and treated them as strange things and found fault with them. And now where are they? Nowhere. Why then do you too choose to act in the same way? And why do you not leave these agitations, which are foreign to nature, to those who cause them and those who are moved by them? And why are you not altogether intent upon the right way of making use of the things that happen to you? For then you will use them well, and they will be a material for you to work on. Only attend to yourself and resolve to be a good man in every act that you do. And remember, look within. Within is the fountain of good, and it will ever bubble up if you will ever dig. So I'm going to say a couple of things. So that I'm going to go with my thing about your conscience, that you need to inform, consult, and follow your conscience. It's in there. You were given that for sure. And is he saying like what to be true to your nature, whatever, be happy with what you get? Is this all about like being bad, like being fraudulent and being covetous? I mean, is this what he's talking about? Vice over virtue? I think it is. I just wish he would give me some specifics. Like when your best friend winks at your wife, whatever, like I just want some examples. I'm like an analogy oriented person. Um, the body ought to be compact and to show no irregularity either in motion or attitude. For what the mind shows in the face, by maintaining in it the expression of intelligence and propriety, that ought to be required also in the whole body. But all of these things should be observed without affectation. The art of life is more like the wrestler's art than the dancer's. In respect of this, that it should stand ready and firm to meet onsets that are sudden and unexpected. Constantly observe who those are whose approbation you wish to have and what ruling principles they possess. For then you will neither blame those who offend involuntarily, nor will you want their approbation if you look to the sources of their opinions and appetites. Every soul, the philosopher says, is involuntarily deprived of truth. Consequently, in the same way, it is deprived of justice and temperance and benevolence and everything of the kind. Those are virtues. It is most necessary to bear this constantly in mind, for thus you will be more gentle toward all. So I think you're saying that we're naturally good, and it's these deviations that are our sickness. We don't like it. Meh. In every pain, let this thought be present, that there is no dishonor in it, nor does it make the governing intelligence worse, for it does not damage the intelligence either so far as the intelligence is rational or so far as it is social. Indeed, in the case of most pains, let this remark of Epicurus aid you, that pain is neither intolerable nor everlasting, if you bear in mind that it has its limits, and if you add nothing to it in imagination. And remember this too, that we do not perceive that many things that are disagreeable to us are the same as pain, such as excessive drowsiness and being scorched by heat and having no appetite. When then you are discontented about any of these things, say to yourself that you are yielding to pain. Take care not to feel toward the inhuman as they feel toward men. How do we know if Telaugus was not superior in character to Socrates? For it is not enough that Socrates died a more noble death and disputed more skillfully with the sophists and passed the night in the cold with more endurance, and that when he was bid to arrest Leon of Salamis, he considered it more noble to refuse, and that he walked in a swaggering way in the streets. Though as to this fact, one may have great doubts if it was true. Yeah, that one did seem wrong. But we ought to inquire what kind of a soul it was that Socrates possessed, and if he was able to be content with the being just toward men and pious toward the gods, neither idly vexed on account of men's villainy, nor yet making himself a slave to any man's ignorance, nor receiving as strange anything that fell to his share out of the universal, nor enduring it as intolerable, nor allowing his understanding to sympathize with the affects of the miserable flesh. Nature has not so mingled the intelligence with the composition of the body as not to have allowed you the power of circumscribing yourself and of bringing under subjection to yourself all that is your own. For it is very possible to be a divine man and to be recognized as such by no one. All right. This guy's an opium addict, a heroin addict, morphine, whatever. Must have been opium. He's saying bringing under subjection to yourself all that is your own. I mean, that's maybe he did it eventually. Anyway, always bear thus this in mind, and another thing too, that very little indeed is necessary for living a happy life. And because you have despaired of becoming a dialectician and skilled in the knowledge of nature, do not for this reason renounce the hope of being both free and modest and social and obedient to God. It is in your power to live free from all compulsion and the greatest tranquility of mind, even if all the world cry out against you as much as they choose, and even if wild beasts tear in pieces the members of this kneaded matter that has grown around you. For what hinders the mind in the midst of all this from maintaining itself in tranquility and in a just judgment of all surrounding things and in a ready use of the objects that are presented to it? The judgment should be able to say to the thing that falls under its observation, this you are in substance, reality, though in men's opinion you may appear to be of a different kind. And the user shall say to that which falls under the hand, you are the thing that I was seeking. For to me, that which presents itself is always a material for the exercise of both rational and political virtue, and in a word, for the exercise of art, which belongs to man or God. For everything that happens has a relationship either to God or man, and is neither new nor difficult to handle, but is usual and apt matter to work on. Stoics bottle their emotions. I guess that's what frightening me say. The perfection of moral character consists in this, in passing every day as if it were the last, and in being neither violently excited nor torpid nor playing the hypocrite. You saw that coming. The gods, who are immortal, are not vexed because during so long a time they must tolerate continually men such as they are, and so many of them bad. Notwithstanding this, the gods also take care of them in all ways. But you, who are destined to end so soon, are you wearied of enduring the bad? And this too, when you are one of them? It is a ridiculous thing for a man not to fly from his own badness, which is indeed possible, but to fly from other men's badness, which is impossible. It's kind of the predicament we're in with the evil overlords, I think. Whatever the rational and political or social, oh, he means social when he says political? He says, whatever the rational and political, and in parens, he writes social, faculty finds to be neither intelligent nor social, it properly judges to be inferior to itself. Just so you know, I stopped smoking 2 months ago. I'd started again for a year or less. It's all the dust. And somebody prompted me to like go back and look at all my monitors. They're all back through the roof. There's so much dust. So I have some the air cleaners really work. I wish I remembered the DeLonghi, I think, a $400 air cleaner. We have 4 of them. Man, you turn that on and in a short amount of time, the particulate monitors go down. But I've been wondering, like, I'm coughing like as if I've been smoking and I'm not. Excuse me. When you have done a good act, all right, I'll just do that one again. Whatever the rational and political or social faculty finds to be neither intelligent nor social, it properly judges to be inferior to itself. When you have done a good act and another has received it, why do you look for a third thing besides these, as fools do? Either to have the reputation of having done a good act or to obtain a return. No man is tired of receiving what is useful, but it is useful to act according to nature. Do not then be tired of receiving what is useful by doing what is useful for others. I have one paragraph left, and I'm going to ask you guys a question. So if you can hang on. You know what? Let me ask the question, and then I'll read the last paragraph. So if I wanted to do, I'm going to do a cocktail party with Joni on her show soon. And I was thinking of having a Christmas one or maybe a monthly one. I don't know. What time would be good? Cocktail party. We can talk about whatever. I like 5:00 Pacific on Fridays, which would be 8:00 Pacific Eastern. So if 3 people can give me an answer in the chat, I know there are a lot of people listening, but not a lot of people chatting. So if a few people can give me, or if you just write it in the comment section if people are watching this later, because I think that would be fun, and but I want to make sure it's convenient. All right, here is the conclusion of Book 7. The nature of the all moved to make the universe But now either everything that takes place comes by way of consequence or continuity. Because it's prime mover unmoved, has moved everything and it's moving, I think, is what I'm getting out of that. Or even the chief things toward which the ruling power of the universe directs its own movement are governed by no rational principle? If this is remembered, it will make you more tranquil in many things. This could be why Stella pointing out that the chemtrails are primarily formed by stuff that's in that jet fuel. Somehow it made me feel better. And now I can actually make the prediction sometimes. I'm like, oh, like there's moisture in the air. I know this is what's happening and why. I'm not saying that it isn't totally different from when I was a kid. It's not because there are more. It's a totally different quality. Whatever they're doing, they know what they're doing. It's bad for us. Who knows what they're up to? There's stuff that's also being sprayed. But somehow thinking that they're not doing it on purpose makes me feel like I don't have to try to do something about it. Because the something to do about it would maybe make cleaner fuel or whatever, would make me an ally of the environmental cases. And it's very neutralizing to be like, well, I can't wear a seatbelt because there's a law. Like it can really polarize people by making you a bedfellow of somebody you don't like or whatever. The fact that we know what it is and that's getting some airtime makes me think that they are, in fact, and they obviously are trying to cut down on air travel for whatever reason. But I think this last word he said here, it will make you more tranquil in many things if you. I'm going to read that one again. The nature of the all moved to make the universe, but now either everything that takes place comes by way of consequence or continuity, or even the chief things toward which the ruling power of the universe directs its own movement are governed by no rational principle. If this is remembered, it will make you more tranquil in many things. Okay. I'll give some thought to all of that. Ah, heater. A heater is a cigarette. I was really enjoying smoking cigarettes and I lost like 15 pounds. but I was coughing and now I'm like, hey, maybe I was just coughing because of the dirt all along. Maybe I could smoke cigarettes again. No, I'm really an addict. Like I can't stop and I can't control it. Like I'll just smoke the whole pack. I'll smoke them all. I couldn't, even when I smoked for all those years, I could not buy cartons because I would just smoke them all. I would just smoke them. So I'm glad so many people can enjoy without going overboard, but I just simply can't. Yep. Estella says jet exhaust plus temperature plus humidity in an ISSR. It comes down to money. They can do better, but they don't. Dude, nobody answered my question about when we could have a cocktail party. Or even this show. Used to do it at 2, 3, now we did it at 4. Well, you're gonna have to put it in the thingies. What are the thingies? The comments. Okay, so I've had some great shows lately. People loved my Johnny Vedmore conversation. What was the name of it? It was kind of funny. Uranium for Nothing and Sex for Free. It was a very, very good conversation. I also had a good one with Marcel, who freaking makes me laugh, blush, and cringe on Joe McCarthy. There's that. We do this. I have a cognitive dissonance coming up this week. And yeah, I'm so eager for this stuff to be over. So I can do more shows and concentrate on stuff. But anyway, so check me out on Monica Perez Show if this is the only thing you've seen. And if you want to support me as I barely nose over break even, thank you for people who answered the call. You can subscribe on iTunes or Substack. And I will say, though, the commercials, if I get enough commercials, that's enough. So if you've listened to this show, my show, for a year, if you've started listening to me on and off over a year ago, and you haven't given me a review on iTunes, please go over there and just have to hit some stars. You don't even have to write anything, but it'll get me up in the algo and I can get my commercials and that's great. Okay, 5 Pacific is good. That's what I want. Brainy me says as long as it's 5 o'clock somewhere, or as we say in my house, it's noon somewhere. All right, bye everybody. Love you.